Welcome back to another TurboGrafx review. This time we will look at Neutopia II. For this review I am using the PC Engine version, which was released in Japan in September of 1991 and in the United States the following year. The story begins with Jazetta, the hero from the first game, fighting a giant squid. After Jazetta is defeated, by the way this battle is unwinnable, the scene transitions to a villager waking up from a nightmare. She mentions the possible resurrection of the demon Dearth to Jazetta's son, whose name you enter before the start of the game, and that his father went to Uria's shrine to find out the truth. Upon arriving at Uria's shrine, the hero encounters Princess Kia, the daughter of the princess from the first game who was severely ill. Once the princess recovers, she mentions that Jazetta went into the Labyrinth and has not been seen since. Thus, the hero seeks out the Labyrinth to find his missing father. The core gameplay of Neutopia II is the same as its predecessor, which was based on the Legend of Zelda. For detailed information on the first Neutopia game, check out my Chip Off the Old Pixel video. For this video, I will focus on the changes and additions made for this sequel. In Neutopia, the overworld was divided into 4 separate spheres. In Neutopia 2, there is now one massive overworld that consists of diverse landscapes, some of which have hazards to deal with. There's your standard forests and grasslands, along with some new environments like snow and ice, which can cause your character to slip on the terrain. There's even an area where you navigate underwater while avoiding whirlpools. At first, the overworld is not fully accessible, but acquiring certain items during your quest opens up additional parts of the world. I'll explain this in detail later. Between the two games, I find that it is easier to navigate through the Neutopia 2 world because you explore smaller sections of the land at a time, plus progression through the world is linear with little need for backtracking. Another change is that the hero can now move and attack in 8 directions, which makes things less restrictive compared to Neutopia. The collision detection has been improved for this game, which was a major problem in the first game. The alarm that sounds off when you're low in health is not as loud as it is in the first game, which is a huge relief. There are now towns scattered throughout Neutopia 2 where the hero will gather quest information and purchase healing potions and bombs, plus obtain other items. The further you progress in this game, the cost of shop items increases. Each town contains a save point where you'll also restore your lost health. The monks make a return where they will increase your maximum life and bomb carrying capacity. In the labyrinths, new traps have been laid out to make navigation more challenging. There are tiles identical to the ones that activate the arrow traps that can reveal spiked floors in certain spots in the room. In the later dungeons, regular tiles can reveal spiked floors as well, so stay alert. The sword trap returns, but this time they can also appear in treasure chests to trick you, so be careful when approaching one, especially late in the game. There are buzzsaws placed in some rooms to slow you down. You have statues that breathe columns of fire. There are conveyor belt tiles that can throw your course of direction off. There are tiles that will teleport you to a different part of the room that you're currently in. The labyrinths in Neutopia 2 are larger than its predecessor, with one containing over 90 rooms. Like in the previous game, not all rooms in a labyrinth appear on the map, and this is important to know because some critical items are found in these rooms. Many of the items in Neutopia, such as boom bombs, wings of return, and the fire staff, are present in this sequel along with several new ones. The biggest addition are 2 extra staffs to accompany the fire staff. There's the wind staff, which at its strongest level can produce a series of rotating whirlwinds. You have the lightning staff, which shoots bolts of lightning in different directions. Like in the first game, the staff's strength is dependent on your level of health. Also, staffs are ineffective against certain enemies. Word of warning: if you attack an enemy with the staff and you move in the opposite direction of the attack, the enemy will be pulled in towards you, inflicting damage. The Boomerang is another item added to the hero's arsenal. This item can be thrown to defeat enemies, but you must catch it when it returns to you or else you'll lose it. You can always buy another one in the shop if this happens. Another item that the hero can use against his foes is the Flail. This weapon has great reach and can be swung to attack multiple enemies. The drawback of the Flail is that it costs 10 gold for each use, but it is highly effective against flying enemies, so the benefits outweigh the cost. Neutopia 2 features a diverse cast of enemies, some of which are tailored to the environments that they are in. You will encounter boulder-tossing yetis in the snow, electric jellyfish and crabs underwater, and fire-breathing pharaohs in the desert. There are several foes you encounter that are disguised as terrain features such as trees and rocks. They stand dormant at first, but will come to life when you get close to them. Neutopia II makes great use of enemies that fly, jump around, and hurl all sorts of projectiles at you. These enemy types can get annoying, but don't despair. Defeated foes might leave a crystal that will cause all enemies on screen to freeze and shatter. Many of the bosses in Neutopia II have weak points that you must attack to defeat them. Patience is key because sometimes you must wait a while before the opportunity to strike arises. The best strategy is to use the staff since it can be dangerous to attack some bosses at close range with the sword. When you defeat a boss, you will gain 1 life heart and obtain a quest item that will allow you to access another part of the land or advance the game's plot. For example, obtaining the Chalice of Agony allows you to freeze a lava pit inside an underground cave, allowing passage to the land on the other side of the river. The Medallions Return in this game, which are needed to enter the final Labyrinth, and once again, defeating the final boss requires you to have specific items in your inventory. I first received Neutopia II as a Christmas present from my parents back in 1992, and I was very excited to play it since I am a big fan of The Legend of Zelda. At the time, we did not own a Super NES, so I was not able to play A Link to the Past. So for me, this game was the next best thing. I played Neutopia II before buying Part 1 a few years later. I'm very impressed with the visual presentation. Compared to its predecessor, the colors are brighter, and I'm a sucker for games with bright colors. I enjoy some of the visual effects they use in this game, such as the wave effects when you're underwater. I like how they combine many different environments into this world and they have their own characteristics. It's a plus that the options for movement, attack direction, and choice of weapons have been expanded upon from the first game. Neutopia II has a nice soundtrack which uses a lot of drum beats with upbeat music in the overworld, which changes depending on the section of the world you're in, along with more mellow music in the labyrinths. The additional traps in the labyrinths adds a layer of challenge to the game. While Neutopia II made several improvements over its predecessor, there are some areas where it did not. I don't like that enemies can be pulled in towards you when you attack them with the staff. All too often in the labyrinths, you must push a block to open locked doors, even after clearing the room of enemies. This slows the pace down a bit, but there is an item you acquire that will automatically open these doors once the room is cleared, but you won't get that until late in the game. Also in the labyrinths, it's easy to get stuck when you cross bodies of water using the rainbow drop if you don't precisely align yourself with the tile you're crossing. Finally, this game promised a Neutopia 3, and I am still waiting. But these flaws have not prevented me from enjoying this game over the past 26 years. I still remember the days of staying up late playing this game when I first got it. I completed Neutopia 2 many times, and I enjoy revisiting this game. I highly recommend this title if you're a fan of the top-down Zelda games. Unfortunately, this is one of the higher demand titles for the TurboGrafx, so you may want to go the emulation route to enjoy this game. I hope you enjoyed this review, and as always, thanks for watching.